The skies over Virex, 9 never changed. A permanent ash-gray dome hung overhead like a smothered flame, refusing light, refusing warmth. The only thing that broke the monotony was the station's perimeter lights, flickering more often now, like they were afraid of the dark. Dr. Lyra Vance stepped off the personnel transport, boots crunching against the frost-laced tarmac. A gust of wind blew across the landing zone, biting through her thermal coat and carrying with a smell she couldn't place. Cold copper, wet dust, something older than rot. "Name?" asked the Carthari soldier. His voice was clipped, sterile, uninterested. "Dr. Lyra Vance. Intergalactic Cultural Exchange Unit. Earth Delegation." The Carthari's iriges arched. The human mythologist. "You're late." "I'm right on time," Lyra replied, brushing past him. "It's your clocks that are behind." Inside the base, everything was worse. Metal corridors stretched like arteries. Too quiet, too dim. Her footsteps echoed with unnatural clarity, as if the walls were listening. She reached the central briefing room, expecting noise, chatter, at least signs of movement. Instead, silence greeted her. 7 Carthari scientists sat motionless, their backs straight, eyes closed, humming, low, monotonous, syncopated. Her breath caught. "Excuse me," she said sharply. None of them moved, until one, a female with pale green markings, slowly opened her eyes. Her pupils had dilated into pinpricks. "He's close," she whispered. Lyra's heart rate jumped. "Who's close?" Before she could get an answer, the door hissed open. A towering figure entered, silver armor reflecting the dull lights, ceremonial drape flowing behind him. Overlord Calderex. "Dr. Vance," he said, "you've arrived at an interesting time." "That's one word for it," she muttered. Calderex gestured for her to walk with him. The incidents began 3 rotations ago. Personnel exhibiting erratic behavior. Equipment shorting without cause. Dreams, vivid, shared. We initiated neurological scans. Found nothing. Dreams about what? He paused, teeth in smoke. Children walking backward. A name, spoken in different tongues, but always sounding like Gareth. The air in her lungs turned to ice. Calderex noticed. "You recognize it?" She nodded slowly. "That's Earth folklore. Slavic, mostly. We called it the Hollow Man. A shapeless entity that enters dreams, mimics voices, and consumes the soul from the inside out. The stories say you only hear his name if someone nearby has stopped believing in him. Fascinating nonsense." Lyra's jaw tensed. "You didn't bring me here for cultural trivia. Something is happening on this planet. Something your empire doesn't understand." Calderex's voice grew colder. "We understand order, Dr. Vance. And this is disorder rooted in human superstition. Then why are your people humming in trances?" He didn't answer. Later, Lyra stood outside Habitation Block 3, waiting for the station's AI to finish scanning the security logs. The door eventually slid open. The room beyond was trashed. Furniture splintered, monitors shattered, and a black smear across the floor like dried ink. Blood, maybe not. She stepped in. The temperature dropped by 5 degrees. Her breath fogged. And then, from the far wall, scratching, faint but rhythmic. Lyra turned, flashlight scanning. Nothing, but the scratches were still happening. She followed the sound to the far end. There, etched into the metal in uneven gouges, were words. "I dreamed him and then he ate me." She recoiled. The phrase was in old Earth English, archaic, barely used off-world anymore. Behind her, a soft voice said, "I saw the lady last night." Lyra spun around. A young Carthari boy, maybe 9, stood in the doorway, clutching a thermal blanket. "The lady?" she asked carefully. He nodded. "She bleeds from the eyes. She smiles when you try to scream. The walls told me her name." Lyra crouched. "What name?" The boy hesitated. Then, "Vila, like in your stories." Her spine stiffened. "Vila, an Eastern European forest demon. They lured wanderers with beauty and buried them under roots. You've been reading human myths?" "No." the boy whispered. She showed them to me in pictures. In my head. Before she could press further, the base lights flickered. Then sirens blared. Sector 4 breach. Communications offline. All personnel evacuate. Lyra ran back into the hallway. Heartbeat thundering. She reached a command terminal. Static. Then a voice cut through, childlike, distorted. Mommy. The shadows of teeth. Then silence. Sector 4 was gone. No explosion. No wreckage. Gone. Katherex met her near the perimeter shield minutes later. A squad of guards formed a tight ring around them. The sky above where Sector 4 had been now pulsed with red, slowly rotating. Like an eye trying to remember how to blink. This is what you're dealing with, Lyra said. Katherex stared upward, unmoved. A localized anomaly. Contained. Interference caused by... Stop. She walked forward, pulled a small leather-bound book from her satchel, and flipped it open. The Hollow Man, she read aloud. He lives where belief dies. He walks where memory thins. He feeds not on flesh, but on forgetting. Katherex laughed once, sharp. Human children's garbage. She didn't blink. That line you heard in the comms? It's word for word from this book. It's ancient Earth myth. Pre-digital. Before the Singularity Age. That boy saw Vila. She's another one. They're surfacing one by one. Are you saying your bedtime stories are real? No, Lyra replied. I'm saying they were warnings. The only kind our ancestors knew how to leave. That night, Lyra sat alone in the darkened mess hall, reviewing footage from Sector 4. One frame caught her eye. Just before the feed went black, the air in the hallway twisted. A figure stood there, not cast in light, but carved from shadow, impossibly thin, mouth wide, no face. And next to it, an ancient glyph. She paused the feed, zoomed in. The symbol was familiar. Her grandmother had embroidered it on her pillowcase. Beneath it, faint but legible in the static, were words scratched into the wall. He is the echo of silence. And you let them laugh. The base no longer slept. Lights flickered in erratic rhythms. Doors opened and closed on their own. Hallways groaned like they were stretching. Lyra walked fast, scanning each corridor for movement, human or otherwise. The silence had changed. It felt aware. She ducked into the old research archive, sealed and dusty. Here, the Empire stored data deemed culturally irrelevant. That meant Earth material. She powered up a terminal and keyed in ancient languages. Dozens of myth indexes flooded the screen. PDF scans, digital fragments, handwritten notes from early human settlement days. She filtered by keyword, Hollow Man. Then again, Vila. Then again, teeth and smoke. Over 50 hits. Lyra leaned closer. One document was a linguistic comparison between forgotten Earth demonologies and early Carthari nightmares. Patterns emerged. The same shapes. The same names, phonetically adapted across cultures. Ngarrth, Gareth, Garuth. Variations of a singular entity. It wasn't just Earth. This thing had followed humanity across the stars. And every time, belief kept it sealed. But now belief had become a joke. A relic. A hiss behind her. She spun, heart-hammering. A Carthari technician stood in the doorway, blood trailing from one ear. I didn't mean to see, he whispered. But I did. Who are you? Yes, Har. I run substation diagnostics. But I started seeing things. Figures in the mirror. Old glyphs etched in frost. So I stopped looking at screens. I listen now. To what? The base. It's whispering. Yes, Har stepped forward, careful, deliberate. The breach wasn't caused by humans. But you're the only species that remembers what it is. He handed her a worn-out patch, military-grade cloth with Earth script burned into it. Unit 7, Project Scarsight. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Where did you get this? I found it inside a sealed cabinet in Admin Block 2, behind a false wall. It was next to this. He held up a metallic disc, etched with the same spiral glyph from the Hollow Man manuscript. She took the disc. This isn't Carthari design. No, it predates us both. They stared at each other. Then the power died. Not flickered. Not dimmed. Vanished. Red emergency lights kicked in. Alarms didn't follow. Just stillness. Until a scream ruptured the silence. Sharp. Human. They ran. Through the emergency corridor, past flickering signs and overturned carts. In the infirmary, they found the comms officer curled into herself, eyes wide, whispering something over and over. Lyra knelt beside her. What did you see? The officer's lips trembled. He came from my own shadow. Spoke in my voice. Yes, Har, checked the wall console. The screen sputtered, then stabilized. Footage played. A figure, humanoid but hollow, stood just inside the infirmary. Skin was translucent. It mimicked the officer's walk. Her mannerisms. Then it turned slowly to the security camera and smiled with a mouth full of nothing. Yeshar looked ill. That's the third case in 2 days. Same pattern. Lyra stood. They're not just haunting this place. They're learning from us. She remembered something her grandmother once told her. He's not scary because he's a monster. He's scary because he pretends to be you. That night, Lyra and Yeshar holed up in the AI core, where electromagnetic shielding kept anomalies at bay. She laid the metallic disc on the table, activated her portable scanner, and overlaid it with Earth folklore data. It aligned perfectly with an old Romanian folk seal, a protective mark used to keep the dark echo from entering dreams. Beneath the seal, encoded in the metal, was a rotating algorithm. The pattern repeated every 66.6 seconds. Yeshar blinked. That's a frequency. Subharmonic. Ultra-low, like a signal. It's broadcasting, Lyra muttered, keeping the breach closed. Or it was. She ran calculations. The pattern had degraded by precisely 11%. That's how long it's been weakening. Yeshar leaned forward. So what now? You find the full pattern and restore it. Lyra shook her head. No, the myths weren't just warnings. They were instructions, rituals, anchors. When we stopped telling the stories, we broke the seal. Calderex's voice blared from the station comms. Dr. Vance and technician Yeshar are hereby detained for inciting panic and spreading cultural disinformation. Surrender immediately. She stared at the speaker. He's trying to erase the myth. That's what it wants. It feeds on disbelief. Yeshar was already packing gear. Then we do the opposite. We make them believe again. They ran, avoided patrols, navigated crumbling ventilation shafts, reached the old broadcast tower, near the crater left by Sector 4. The crater hadn't healed. It was growing. Wisps of black fog spilled over the edges, pulling in light, sound memory. You could feel it draining something from you. As you got close, Lyra activated the tower terminal. Are you sure? Yeshar asked. Not even a little. She began transmitting. Voice only. No video. Just a recording of herself reading ancient Earth tales. The ones no one told anymore. She told the story of the Hollow Man, then of the Bleeding Lady, then of the Laughing Skinwalker. Each tale echoed across the comm bands. Why are you doing this? Yeshar asked. Want to make it stronger? No, she said. It only wins when we forget, when we stop telling the stories. The base began to shake. A storm of shadows erupted from the crater, shrieking like static. One shape formed from the mass, tall, jagged, impossibly thin. A slit of mouth widened, but no sound came out. Lyra stared. The Hollow Man, she whispered. Then motion. Calderex's guards arrived, weapons raised. Lyra stepped in front of the terminal. Shoot me, and you kill your only way out. Calderex emerged behind them, calm. This myth ends now. He reached for the kill switch. Yeshar moved without thinking, tackled him into the wall. Calderex slammed back, stunned. Lyra continued reading. The myth ended with a line. He retreats not from light, but from memory. Name him. Know him. Seal him. She did. The glyph on the disc pulsed once. A sharp, metallic sound rang out like a bell. The shadows recoiled, screamed, folded inward. The crater began to close. Not fully, but enough. For now, the station bled silence. Every corridor, every panel, every breath seemed to wait. The crater hadn't swallowed them whole, but it was still there, pulsing like a wound beneath reality. Whatever they had done by invoking the myths had worked. Partly, but the seal was temporary. A thread tied around a floodgate. Lyra stared at the dim light overhead. He's not gone. Yeshar stood nearby, hands shaking. We slowed it. That's all. Across the shattered base, Calderex was in custody. His own guards had seen too much. Hallucinations that left burns, rooms bending around corners that no longer existed, screams echoing without source. Now they were listening. Lyra gathered the remaining officers in the operations bay, its walls cracked but intact. She laid out the disk, the glyph, and her data scans. We always thought myths were stories we told our children. But what if they were codes? She asked. What if someone, long before us, fought this thing and encoded everything we needed into narrative? The room was silent. Then one of the guards, a younger Carthari named Silas, said, and we laughed at it. At you. Laughing wasn't the problem, Lyra said. Forgetting was. She tapped the AI console. We need a system-wide transmission. Full spectrum. I want every outpost within 5 parsecs to hear this. Yeshar frowned. You're going to broadcast more stories? No, she said. I'm going to rebuild the belief. The central AI had protocols for cultural events, even ones based in fiction. Lyra hijacked the entire entertainment grid and reprogrammed it with Earth folklore visuals, projected illusions, augmented hallucinations, audio loops of ancient myths. In one wing, the hollow man silhouette appeared against a red moon. In another, the bleeding lady whispered lullabies that changed with every listener. But this time, the bass didn't glitch. It responded. The structure itself began to hum, a low thrum of resonance. The mythic symbols burned faintly along the floor, aligning like circuitry. Yeshar studied them. You're creating a ritual field. Not magic, Lyra said. A neural emotive frequency network. If enough minds believe in something structured, shared, consistent, it becomes real here. And you're using fear? Not fear, she corrected. Recognition. The hollow man didn't wait. By dusk, he returned, stepping through the base perimeter like smoke through cracks. His form shimmered, now wearing half of Lyra's face, half of Calderex's. His eyes were sockets filled with static. Calderex watched from the holding cell. You think playing pretend will save you? No, Lyra said calmly, but it might save the rest. The hollow man reached out, and the walls behind him melted, revealing hundreds of eyes staring, mouths whispering myths that no longer existed. Yeshar triggered the broadcast. Across every station, sector, humans, and Cartharia alike saw stories once thought forgotten. Shadow puppets that bled real light, lullabies that stopped heart rates and then restarted them, ancient demons bound by nursery rhymes. The hollow man paused. Something had changed. Lyra stood before the creature, heart pounding, hands glowing with the disk's embedded glyph. You are not a god, she said. You're an echo, and we remember you. The creature's mouth opened, not in rage, but in panic. Calderex muttered, stunned, it's afraid. Because for the first time in centuries, belief wasn't fading. It was focusing. Lyra raised her voice. You fed on forgetfulness, on arrogance. But we remember now. We name you. She spoke the name Gareth once, then again. Yeshar joined. Then Silas. Then the others. In unison, we name you. We see you. We seal you. The creature convulsed. Its arms flailed, losing form. Every myth-given voice weakened it. Each tail once mocked, now a chain around its limbs. Lyra stepped forward. The belief protocol is activated. It's not a weapon. It's a memory. A pulse burst outward from the AI core, fractal patterns dancing along the walls. The hollow man screamed, not in sound, in absence, like the void had been pulled into a knot and then crushed under memory. And then he was gone. No explosion, no flash, just absence, like he'd never been there at all. In the silence that followed, Lyra fell to her knees. Yeshar sat beside her, laughing softly, not from joy but exhaustion. One of the guards said, Is it over? Lyra shook her head. It's never over. But now, we remember the rules. She walked to Katherex's cell. He didn't speak, just stared at the ground, the symbols, the echoes of belief humming faintly in the air. You wanted purity, she told him. What you got was ignorance. He looked up. And you? You call this science. I call it humanity, she said. Flawed. Scared. But we listen to our ghosts. 3 days later, Earth received a full transmission. Not a distress signal, but a warning. Encrypted in folklore, framed in performance. Children began telling old stories again. Teachers asked new questions. And in the corners of the galaxy, something pulled back, something old, something hungry, held at bay not by technology but by memory. Because humans, when pushed to the edge, don't just fight. They remember. And that was always the part the galaxy misunderstood. 3 weeks later, Virex, 9 still hadn't returned to normal. And maybe it never would. The crater remained sealed, but scarred, the terrain warped, as if reality had hesitated to stitch itself back together. The surrounding structures leaned inward subtly, like they were listening to something still breathing beneath the surface. Lyra stood at the edge of that wound, arms folded, wind clawing at her coat, her breath fog in the morning air. No hollow man, no whispering glyphs, just silence, thick and uneasy. Yeshar approached, datapad under one arm. Base system stabilized. AI reports no anomaly signatures in the last 72 hours. We think it's gone. You think doesn't work here anymore, Lyra said. He nodded. Fair. She turned to face him. What about the broadcasts? Still active. The belief protocol is holding across all link systems. We've even had stations submitting their own local myths, retellings, warnings, cultural fables. It's spreading. That made her smile. A tired one, but real. Good. That's what we needed. Not weapons. Memory. Yeshar hesitated. There's something else. He handed her the datapad. A new report. Distant station. Unmapped region. Unexplained disappearances. Equipment distortions. Dream contamination signatures. One name scrawled across a wall. The Empty Bride. Lyra stared at it, chest tightening. Another one. Different pattern, different myth, but familiar structure. Yeshar said. They're not isolated. They're connected. She looked toward the horizon. The Hollow Man was just the first thread pulled. The rest are still woven through. That night, she gave her final report to Earth Command. She stood alone in the transmitter chamber, the room humming softly as she spoke. Designation, Virex 9 incident, final status update. Dr. Lyra Vance reporting. She didn't read from a script. She spoke plainly. 3 weeks ago, we faced something no one believed was real. Not because it lacked evidence, but because we thought we were too advanced for stories. We weren't. We never were. She paused. I've reviewed over 6,000 ancient Earth myths during my time here. Nearly 200 align with recorded anomaly signatures. Ghosts, demons, tricksters. Every culture. Every continent. All warnings wrapped in tales. A faint beeping interrupted her. Yeshar again. She muted the channel and turned. He wore a grim expression. It's spreading faster than we thought. How many reports? 6 more. All different. All myth-rooted. Different shapes. Different names. But they follow the same cycle. First disbelief. Then forgetfulness. Then emergence. Lyra sighed. They're not invaders. They're fractures. Stress points where reality thins, and something else leaks in. Leaks in or wakes up? She didn't answer, because deep down, she wasn't sure either. By dawn, the station survivors were preparing for evacuation. Earth had decided to convert Virex 9 into a quarantine perimeter and research hub. High risk, high value. Katherix, stripped of his command, was to be transferred for trial. Before he left, he asked to see Lyra. They met in the holding corridor, separated by a thin energy field. You'll be hailed as a savior, he said, voice low. The human who stopped the dark. I didn't stop anything. I just got people to listen. Katherix looked older, smaller, I led a civilization that worshipped logic, but logic failed me. No, Lyra replied. Arrogance did. He leaned in slightly. You think stories will save you? They already did. And when they stop working? She didn't blink. Then we write new ones. She spent her final night on Virex, 9 walking the corridors. Her boots echoed through quiet. The damage remained. Scorched walls, flickering lights, symbols burned into metal. But it felt still, not safe, but seen. She stopped in front of the AI Core 1 last time. The disk still sat in its cradle, pulsing softly with that 66.6-second heartbeat. Yes Hard joined her. They're giving you a commendation. Tell them to name a library instead. A library? Yeah, she said. Let people walk into it without realizing it might one day save their life. He laughed. You really think stories hold that much power? She turned to him. I think they're the only thing that's ever held us together. Before leaving, she recorded one last broadcast. Not a warning, not an alert. A bedtime story. She chose one her grandmother used to tell. Simple, soft, about a boy who met a shadow in the woods, but survived because he remembered its true name. She ended the recording with a line not found in any archive. We remember so we don't become what we fear. Then she left Virex 9 behind. Months passed. Then a year. Reports came in from other colonies. Some handled with story-based containment, some not. One station used Old Norse epics to hold off a shapeshifter. Another invoked Aboriginal tales to seal a song entity underground. The myths were different, but the outcome was the same. Belief as structure, memory as shield. The galaxy had started to remember not just Earth stories. Its own. In a quiet field on Mars, under red twilight, Lyra stood before a group of school children gathered around a campfire. No holograms, no AI, just a fire and voices. She told them about the hollow man, about the empty bride, about the whispering skin. She didn't make them scary. She made them known. One girl raised her hand. What if we forget again? Lyra smiled. Then we remind each other. The fire popped. The stories continued. And somewhere, beneath the edges of perception, something ancient stirred, listened, and waited. But this time, it wasn't alone in the dark. We remembered.